Okay, I was able to successfully install macOS Ventura 13.01, I believe, onto a Dell Optiplex 3020 system, which is a small form factor system, actually in my case. And so I was actually able to do that based on the information that I found in this GitHub page, which covers everything pretty good, except that it, the author doesn't upgrade the information, or didn't upgrade his system to anything further than macOS Big Sur, even though actually I found that it was possible to install it Ventura onto the same hardware. So essentially, you could use this information as a guideline to actually see how to install it. And the only thing that I actually did is kind of encapsulated everything so that broke down the steps that were needed to actually set up the USB flash drive and actually go through the most of the install. What it does, what I don't cover or I'm not going to cover, are things like you're going to have to update your BIOS, or you may need to update your BIOS if it's not the most recent copy, but I do provide links for all that stuff, so you can just go to the web page and you can download the BIOS that you need. And I do believe that it actually covers how to actually update it, and so you can do that on your own. And then there's other things like where you actually have to go into, well, say if you, after you get the flash drive completed and made, you're going to have to start up the flash drive the first time around, and you're going to have to update NVRAM settings for the system to actually boot and start the install. So you'll have to insert the flash drive, and then once it's booted, you're going to go to select the option mod grub shell, and then once that loads, you're going to actually have to enter the proper commands for your system. In my case, it actually was the 3020 small form factor system that I actually was using, so I actually entered these, each one of these in turn, and then basically rebooted the system, and then it would actually go right into install. So, like I say, I'm not going to cover basically that in the video. You're just going to have to do that, because and if you don't do it, it's not going to, the install is never going to start. And so, and the other part that I've actually went through already is I downloaded and is installed macOS Ventura in VirtualBox macOS Catalina that I actually have running on the Linux system that I'm using now. So I use this GitHub macOS software download Ventura, the newest version, and then I set up the installer, which is in the applications folder now. I prepared the flash drive, and then I installed Ventura on the flash drive. So I actually had the flash drive ready to go, and I can actually use that to finish up the process. So assuming that we've already went through all these steps here and basically updating the BIOS, then obviously I outline the resources you need to download, such as the EFI file, USB map file, which is specific to each type of system. And so I installed or downloaded the small form factor version. So even though that link is here, it may not be the one you actually need. Then I'll go through the process of what I did from there. So so say I basically went and I actually did download everything that was on the list, and then uncompress it into the proper folder. So Propertree is what I needed, and I needed a copy of GenSMBIOS, and then the EFI files, which I actually from the instructions I suggest that you basically make an install folder, make a post install folder, and make take a copy of the EFI folder and put one untouched into each of these other folders, and then we're going to go from there. So I gotta take a little break here. So okay, so I actually did preload in Propertree. I preloaded the config.plist for the install folder on Linux, because this Propertree is actually going to run the same on Linux or macOS, because they're both basically Unix based operating systems. And so essentially you're going to be able to just download the software and run it, because Python is already installed on both of the systems, and that's the only difference between that and Microsoft Windows, where you're pretty much just going to have to install Python and then be able to use this other software. So anyway, what I'm actually going to do is the instructions, based on what they were given from me from the GitHub page. I'm right here, so we're going to basically be modifying the config.plist to disable SIP and AMFI. So there's the area we need to actually go to is here. So I'm just going to remember that it's 9F82. And then we're going to have to enter some specific information in that area. So anyway, we're right here, and you can see that we're going to have to go to the area where it says csr-active-config, and we're actually going to have to change is right here, the data variable, which right now is actually 0000. So we're going to have to change that to F. So I'm just going to double click on it again, and I should, well actually I may not be able to. FF0 F12 1 2 3. So that should be FF0 F12340. Okay, so that's changed. And then the other change we're actually going to have to make is we're going to have to add that information into the boot args, which are just slightly lower down here. And so let's see if we can actually paste it this time. Well, anyway, it doesn't seem I can, but I should be able to. AMFI underscore GET. Okay, now I went and lost track of where it was. Underscore out underscore my underscore WAY, and that equals 1. Okay, so that's, we just added that to what was already there, which was IGEPF. So that's the only real changes we actually need to make to this file. So we're just going to go ahead and save it. So that should actually be all we needed to do with the install file. So that should be sufficient for the initial boot of the computer to install, excuse me, or start the install and then be able to run the patches. So what I'm actually going to do next is, okay, so I did that. So what I'm going to do now is I have to actually do it from a terminal, and okay, so we're actually going to run this, and immediately the first time I actually ran in the folder, it's now in. Excuse me. So I just did the update, so then that's all I need to do. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to close this folder, go back to the 3020 folder, the EFI files, post install. I need to open the OC file, and so once I've done that, excuse me. Okay, so then this works, you know, the same if you, either if you work, you know, in Mac OS or Linux, and so well, I don't know why it, you know, pops up. So anyway, the config.plist from the, you know, the post install folder is actually loaded. And then what I'm going to do is, I think what I need to do is I'm going to have to run option 3. Oops. But, excuse my coughing. Oops. The information I need, I think I made a note that I actually needed to use iMac 18.3 when I run it, so I'm just going to copy that and go back to the and so put that in, and then I'm going to do, it doesn't, you know, really matter, but I usually just, you know, make 5 iterations. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. 3, and then paste, and comma, and then 5. What am I doing wrong? Okay, so it was actually, I don't know why, but uppercase letters weren't allowing me to do it. So I just did it 3 times. So all I have to do after that is it actually created the new serial numbers, which I'm actually going to use in the post install. So that's all done. There is actually one other thing that the author recommends you actually do, but I may not actually worry about. So that's actually maybe something you have to do on your own. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'll show you the reference to that. So it has to do with basically iMessage possibly working right. And you need to actually install the Mac number, which is hardware number for the Ethernet card, or maybe even the wireless or whatever. But I usually don't do this because I don't ever use iMessage. So anyway, it's sitting here somewhere. And if you're concerned and you want to use iMessage, you'll actually have to hunt it down, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it without wasting a lot of time just talking about. Okay, actually here it is. It's enter proper ROM value, and so basically it's under platform info, and then generic, and then ROM, and then basically that number you would actually enter would be a MAC address. And I'll just show you real quick what I mean. So if I just do a quick config here, and basically this number here, as it shows up on Linux, is actually a MAC address. I'm not going to load up macOS or something different to show you the MAC address in there, but that's kind of the idea. You need to enter this MAC address, which would be just basically this number without all the colons in there. So essentially, I've covered everything you actually need to do to set up the flash drive. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to pause for just a. Okay, I had to grab the flash drive because I didn't have it readily available. But so I actually installed the flash drive, and the final step to actually, before we can actually go on the macOS or the future macOS system or the Dell system, is to write the EFI files to the folder that they're needed, and then I may have to load up VirtualBox and then copy the postinstall files to. I'm going to copy them to the same flash drive, and then I may just load up the EFI file or folder, and then copy back the postinstall folder. But anyway, I'll go through that. So what I'm actually going to do here now, I'm just going to do, just kind of show you on a Linux system. Right now, obviously, if you understand, how it boots, but basically you can see that the macOS flash drive is loaded under SDB2, which is actually the main folder. So that what that means is actually what I'm going to want to do is, sorry. I'm going to have to mount, not SB2, I'm going to have to mount the partition that comes before that, which is 1, and then I'm actually, what I usually do is I just mount it in the subdirectory mount on Linux. So then I have to enter my password, because I can never do that without, and then I have to enter it right. Okay, so once that's done, I should be able to go into the file system, and here's the mount folder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open as root, because I need to, because obviously I mounted it as root, and so in order to be able to read and write anything to that folder, I'm going to have to do so as root. But that doesn't matter to macOS at all, or anything else. But wrong folder. I'm going to take and open the folder where I have the EFI folders that I just created, and I'm going to just copy them in. And so the one that I'm actually going to need to boot with is actually this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the install folder, and I'm going to paste copy to the root of the EFI partition as an EFI folder. And then the install EFI folder and the post install are still here. It doesn't matter if they're here, but that's all I need to do. So basically the 2 copies of the install and the post install folder are ready to go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to essentially unmount that folder because I'm done with what I need to do there. Then I'm going to pause for a little bit here because I actually need to load okay, kind of on the final steps of the process here. So what I had to do is I actually had to load macOS in VirtualBox again because I'm going to need to install some files or set up some files on the flash drive, which I don't actually have mounted yet. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to load the proper flash drive that I actually made before, which is the Ventura installer flash drive. And what I'm going to do is get rid of this annoying message first, because I don't, it doesn't matter if I update this or not. But essentially, this is installed macOS Ventura, and this is actually a copy of the information of the files that actually were needed and outlined in the documentation that I created that you needed to download. So I put them into a folder that's called Tools. And all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a copy of that folder of Tools on the flash drive. And so it might take a little while because the flash drive is a little bit slower. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a kind of quick overview of using EFI agent. So the first time it says I can't actually use it because it's not trusted. So I'm going to tell it, well, just use it anyway. But in order to do that, I have to load security and privacy from the system preferences and just tell it to open the file anyway. And then I'm just going to tell it to open. And then after that's done, this is actually, you can see this is the EFI agent. And it was kind of busy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to load the EFI, if I can. I want to load the EFI from the flash drive. So I'm going to should click on this one and it should mount the EFI folder from the flash drive that's currently still, I think, finishing up copying files to. And the reason I need to do that is I want to get, well, one, I can show you that the files I copied in Linux are still there, even though I load this in Mac. And then what I want to do is I want to take a copy of the post install. I'm going to wait until this is actually almost done. So I'm going to take a copy of the post install that I created and installed in the EFI folder on the flash drive and put it into the tools folder, because the reality is you're not going to need to, you should be able to just basically, after the install is done, you should be able to simply just load the contents of the flash drive, and you'll see the tools folder in there. And so that means you're not going to have to open the EFI folder to get the post install EFI folder out of it to copy to the hard drive, because it's not in the EFI folder. It's just basically on the flash drive. So essentially that kind of concludes what is needed to be done with the flash drive. So let's see here. What you can do is actually you go on to following up on the information, or using the flash drive, and you're going to have to just start at setting up the NVRAM variables as pointed out or instructed in the other file, and then you're basically going to install and set up macOS Ventura, and then after that you should be able to then set up the post-install EFI file on the hard disk, which you'll have to use EFI agent, and then you can also then do the open core legacy patching, and then after that's done, you should be able to just restart the computer, and then it should be ready to go. I don't know, but I guess that the process of basically doing the patching and installing the post-install EFI file. If there's any, I don't think there's any changes that are actually made by the open core legacy patcher that would affect the EFI file. But if you're worried about that, you could actually just change the order around. You just do the legacy patching and then install the EFI file and then reboot. But that's kind of the process, and so hopefully everything works out for you. But and I guess all I can say is good luck and happy holidays. Okay, I was going to do one little small follow-up on the video I did, but essentially, obviously I didn't cover installing the info plist, which is actually the remaps USB drives, even though it's covered in the instructions. And then I guess that the whole reason for making the install and posted file folders is because you are going to have to patch the video, to make it work in Ventura. But I've only installed this once, so the thing is that even though the legacy patcher says it can maybe undo, all the patches that it previously did, so that you can update the version of macOS and then reapply the patches, I don't know. So the thing is that, it may be possible that you're actually going to have to install, or download a newer version of macOS, remake the flash drive, all that stuff. So having the post and pre and post files might be necessary. The other thing is that if in fact the EFI files are actually altered by the patching, the KEX files within the EFI files. I don't know that either, because obviously I just only did this once and got macOS working on the system. But essentially, I haven't researched it, but it is possible that the installer, the patcher, can modify files within possibly the KEX files, but I don't believe it's actually the EFI KEX files. I think it's the system files, the KEX files within the system libraries that are actually altered. So it doesn't matter if you keep a copy of the EFI file after the the patching's been done. But I guess I just wanted to mention it so that I'm not going to be able to just do some testing on that to see if you need to keep a copy of EFI folder after it's been patched, but I don't think so. But it'll always be good to actually have the pre and post install files if you decide to go with the method where you actually have to go through the whole process of downloading a newer version of Ventura and then reinstalling it and so forth and so on. Once you've done these steps, you don't have to do them again, to reinstall. You just have to basically, go through the process and take the time to install them. But then the only other thing you actually need to do is obviously back up any important information that you may possibly wipe out, by reinstalling. So essentially, I just wanted to follow up on that. But like I say, because I don't know how the patcher works, and I don't know, uh, other information on how, what files are actually affected. I guess that I just, you should be pre-warned that, certain things that I don't know what might happen, and you maybe want to be prepared to, keep copies of the EFI folder after the patching's been done, or you can do a check of the file size, to ensure that no changes actually been made and it's the same file before and after the patcher is done. But anyway, that's kind of advanced. But essentially, I just wanted to make you aware of things that I don't know what are going to happen. So essentially, I guess this is the second ending to the video, and happy holidays.